We have a tradition consistent with our Veterans Day service. We would always invite a guest speaker to give an address to us, and today is no exception. Dr. White was born and raised in the inner city of Kingston, Jamaica, before immigrating to Florida as an adult. While serving in the Jamaican military, JDF, he attended the Northern Caribbean University, where he received a Bachelor of Science in Counseling. He graduated magna cum laude. He also received a Master of Science in Counseling Psychology with distinction. This allowed him to establish a private practice as a psychiatrist on a part-time basis for several years. After receiving a doctorate in education with a concentration in organizational leadership at Nova, he continued his education at Nova with the pursuance of a Master of Public Administration. He also held a Master of Organizational Studies from the University of the West Indies, Mona campus. After his service in the prestigious Jamaica Defense Force for over 24 years, having been enlisted at the age of 20, he received a National Medal for Long Service and Good Conduct. Dr. Canute worked as the Dean of Discipline at the Clancarty High School with responsibility for the safety, security, and welfare of the students and staff. He also served as the Director, Safety and Behavioral Management at Excelsior Community College, where he was responsible for the management of discipline, safety, and security on all campuses. In addition, he worked as an adjunct professor at the university level in Jamaica and psychotherapist for children and substance abusers in Florida. Now a published author, he has over 6 books displayed on Amazon and other online bookstore platforms. He communicates his philosophies through his writings and as a podcaster on his show, Canute's Exploration. Dr. White has also served as a Justice of the Peace and a member of the Lay Magistrates Association in Jamaica. With his continued passion for public service, he applied and was commissioned notary public in the state of Florida. Dr. White received a diploma in radio and television broadcasting from the Miami Media School, as he believes in talking for, with, and to the people for empowerment and inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and help me welcome to the podium Dr. Canute White.
Thank you very much, and good morning. But we're in the house of God, so I'd just like to acknowledge the presence of God, with us, and to glorify Him. All the praises, all the glory belongs to God. We should acknowledge that. Doesn't matter what happened. And I'd also like to acknowledge those persons on the executive of JESA, be it here in New York or wherever in the world. I also like to acknowledge members of JESA, families, friends, and well-wishers. I suspect that we are streaming. I also like to say greetings to those persons who are listening watching this service. You know, COVID is positive. If you realize over the past 2 years, we have a lot of positivity. A lot of things narrow down a bit, try to give us, pull some burden off us. And we must acknowledge that even though we want COVID to go away, there's still some good in COVID. Yes, bad, but we must also acknowledge the good where that is concerned. Look, I'm from Florida, and when I came to Bronx, I visited New York before, Brooklyn and Manhattan. But when I came to Bronx, two things I have to face in Bronx. The ill. Bronx is illy. And it's cold. So I have to face those two things. You'll recognize and you'll appreciate that here in Jamaica it's tropical, Florida is tropical. So I am used to that sort of sunshine and not being cold, not being jacketed, right? And I walk a lot. And while walking, I realize the ache and pain that I feel, which cannot be compared to Florida. I walk in Florida, but this is a different situation, and it tells me that it's okay to exercise here, but it's not okay to chill here. Playing with words a bit, it's a bit a problem for me, but I am coping anyway. I will be here for a while, perhaps another 2 to 3 weeks, and then back in the, I call it the reptile state. I love Florida, but that's okay, right? So I'm basically getting accustomed to Bronx and to New York for the time being. Well, this is veteran service, I suspect, and we have a lot of memories, though, back in Jamaica, being a part of a very good organization. For me, it took away a lot of my youth days, and that's fine. I love it. My birthdays, my Christmases, I didn't have those in my 20s. Refer to this concept as continuous service. We talk about continual and continuous, stop and go, continuous, just keep going. If it's even in our mind, we keep serving, and we're all continuous servants. It never stops. But there are a few characteristics, a few principles that I have developed as it relates to continuous servicehood. Loyalty is the first one. Look, when I was being promoted, I used the word loosely, to another unit in the Jamaica Defense Force, a background check had to be done. And when the investigator went to my home, my spouse at that time reportedly said to the investigator, the JDF, he loves the JDF more than he loves me. I was like, okay, I mean, I cannot confess that, right? But I guess it was true. There's a truism in that. Because there was this loyalty. There was this sort of allegiance to the Jamaica Defense Force that I had. Yes, love for country before the Jamaica Defense Force, but it tells me when she reported that it was really true. The Jamaica Defense Force have become a part of so many of us, and that loyalty is the reason for that. That sort of allegiance to an organization that we have served so well. That as all of our friends and the events in our life continue to happen through that organization. Many of us have to be there, confined to barracks for weeks, for perhaps months, it depends. And it becomes a part of who we are as an individual. So loyalty is critical if you want to call yourself a continuous servant. Loyalty means being aligned to an organization like this. JESA, be it New York, South Florida, UK, Canada, wherever, Jamaica. when you're aligned to an organization like this, it tells you and those around you that you have a sense of loyalty. Call it a sense of loyalty, but in effect, you have exerted loyalty to the Jamaica Defense Force, and you are really continuing as a servant of the Jamaica Defense Force. And this loyalty speaks to one of the mission of JESA, because JESA talked about a sense of community, support initiatives for learning, growth, and development. Interesting. That takes loyalty. That takes connection to community. And community not only means the community of soldiers within JESA, but the community around JESA and soldiers around the world, other parts of the world. Because I read somewhere where the vision of JESA NY is about helping JESA chapters around the world to really continue and support the service, the purpose of JESA, the concept of JESA. Yes, so that tells me also that JESA New York is not about JESA New York. It's about soldiers who need help wherever you are, if it means you have to go through JESA UK or any other JESA chapter. The next one is self-discipline. I took the liberty to look at self-discipline, the denotation of self-discipline, and it speaks to overcoming your feelings, your weakness, and the ability to do the right thing, even though things are coming against you not to do the right thing, to move away from it. And self-discipline is one of that principle that we need as continuous servant. What is the right thing, you may ask? The right thing is sometimes relative to you. Overcoming your feelings, your weakness, and the ability to do the right thing, even though things are coming against you not to do the right thing, to move away from it. And self-discipline is one of that principle that we need as continuous servant. What is the right thing, you may ask? The right thing is sometimes relative to you. But JESA NY, like all the other JESA chapter, doing the right thing. Supporting soldiers, ex-soldiers who they need. So self-discipline also speaks to the mission of JESA, and this mission has to do with the whole thing of supporting soldiers globally and the social aspect of JESA, socializing. But let me say this, let me ask you this. When you're socializing, when you're remembering what happened in the Jamaica Defense Force, because we know it can get rough sometimes and people have to make unpopular decisions. If you see Dr. White who have made an unpopular decision, if you are talking to Dr. White, do you hold back your feeling of anger that you had? You know, it's about throwing that away. Being disciplined to be able to throw that away and become one despite what had happened in the Jamaica Defense Force while we served. So to be a continuous servant, it also means to have that sort of self-discipline. And I tell you those two, we have one more to go, but those two speaks to the mission of JESA NY. It can be aligned to the mission. And the final one is commitment. That's not an easy one, right? How committed are we, not only to JESA NY, but to service, continuous servanthood, serving those who are in need, those ex-servicemen who are in need. JESA talk about commitment to support, right? Ex-service personnel in need across the globe. That takes commitment. But is it a JESA commitment or is it a you commitment? Is it an individual commitment? Because there is no way JESA can fulfill its commitment without your commitment, your individual commitment. And that is something to think about. Because you have to be committed to ensure that the purpose of JESA is being enacted. So that is critical. And commitment means basically being dedicated to something. Cause, right? Be putting your all into it. Are you attending meetings? Are you giving, donating to JESA's cause? That is critical for us. And you know, I reflected each day on those of you who have watched my podcast, who have listened. I believe it is important to help, to support, because many people are suffering. I remember after leaving the JDF, someone saw me and, you know, he was asking, "What, boss? Beg you something now?" We don't need that in our family, yeah? And that is why we need to support each other, because we are family. You might not have served with me, but you have served the same organization, the same country that I have served. So we are family. JESA is a non-profit organization, and it means that it's going to take a lot to do the work that JESA wants to do. Those who are listening, those who are watching, I would want to suggest that you support JESA and the purpose of JESA. Any JESA. I was having a discussion recently, and I said that I'm from Florida, and there is a JESA in Florida, so I might just be a part of that chapter. And the person said to me, "That's okay, as long as you are a JESA member. It's, you know, it's okay." So I'm saying to those of you who are not a member of any JESA, and you're ex-service member, I suspect that family can be a part of JESA, right? I read somewhere. Yeah, get involved. Get involved. Be supportive. If you cannot give financially, give your time. Yeah? JESA doesn't need it, basically, but the ex-service members who are an all-time need it, the community need it, right? So JESA is just like a conduit trying to ensure that things is done properly. So I'd want you to support JESA. And in doing this, this is not an altar call that you need to get up, but it's what I call a sort of a rhetorical altar call. Get up out of your seat. Get up out of where you are. Get active, right? If you are not a member of JESA, become a member. Come. If you are a member of JESA and you're not committed, you're not loyal, and you do not exert the self-discipline that is needed to be a continuous servant, hey, work on it. Work on that loyalty, work on that self-discipline, work on that commitment that you need. And if you're a family member, talk to your military member, spouse, father, whoever, and find out how you can be a part of this system. I must confess I'm not a part of this system, but I'm going to get involved in South Florida. And I will be connected to the New York chapter whenever, however, it's possible. I will be connected, because I would want to say that the New York chapter is where I was born as it relates to JESA, because, you know, I am now able to connect with you guys. It's nice to be here with you, and I wish JESA NY all the best. And I must tell you that now I'm a part of you, wherever, Mr. President, right? Call me up anytime. I will be able to give you that support if it's not financially. Otherwise, I am here, and I appreciate you inviting me to talk. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. White, for those kind words.